there's no data. The internet is off. And any time that you see like airplane mode, by the way, that literally just turns off the data. That means when you turn off the data, that means whenever you're out of range of your internet at home or your internet at work or whatever internet is within a actual like building, workplace or otherwise, it's going to turn off that, the signal that it gets from the data towers, and 5G, 4G, 3G, whatever G. And so, but if you turn off the data before anything, you don't really need to have the airplane mode on. Airplane mode is the reason it's turned off. They call that airplane mode is because, when you're in an airplane, some of those signals will disrupt, when it's going to the 5G towers, it could potentially disrupt the signal that they're using to communicate with ground control. And they also have towers that are probably very similar to that. Don't quote me on that. I don't know everything that there is about, I don't know everything that there is to know about, Wi-Fi and all that. But I'm gonna get the chat up real quick. Let's see. Alrighty. Obviously, I just wanted to look at the to get the chat. There we go. The chat is here. Fantastic. And we're gonna start. This is an app called Ghost Hunting Tools, and for those of you that don't think that this works, I'm going to show you how effective it is. Now, if this is not an effective session, there are a number of things that could be going on. She may, maybe having a hard time finding the words to say what's on her mind, or she may feel uncomfortable. But I did ask her permission first if we could go live, and so that's really all that matters right now. It's really important that you do get permission from the spirits that you're speaking to. So we're gonna open this up and we're gonna get here. So if you don't know, we're gonna turn up the sound just a bit. As you can see, she's very active. Adventure. Immediately she picks it up. Now, as I said, these apps, if you're near anything that's putting out a lot of electromagnetic fields, that means your modem, the things that gives you internet, your TV, your power outlets, something that gives out a lot of power. You don't want anything near that, particularly cameras, that kind of thing. John. Thick. Gosh, she's just pounding it out there, isn't she? She's just boom. Boom. So obviously, don't be around power lines. Don't be around anything that emits a lot of power. Small cameras should be okay. Just make sure that you're not on top of it or right under it, because those can false trigger these word banks quite a bit. And I prefer word banks. And I know there's a lot of people that are skeptical about these, but I actually believe them. Also, another thing is to kind of start, for instance, you can start, another thing is like starting off is like asking them like certain things, giving them certain tasks, not performance tasks like moving things or anything like that, but like ask them certain requests, like for instance, how did you get here, Amy? And as you can see, she's, that going up means that she's working on it. Region. Do you see what she just did? She said region. She's actually going to tell me how she got here. And also another thing is these are all going to always be cryptic because there's limited words. If you have limited words in order to communicate, it's going to be really cryptic and hard. Am not. That is like never comes up anytime that I've used this. Am not. You're not what? Also, I have dowsing rods and I have some paper that I'm writing down some of the words in case, you know, because obviously these things, yes, of course, you know, obviously these things, you know, they sometimes will record what's going on, you know, they'll record, they'll have a history bank, you know, but not all of them have that. So that's really, really important, if you can. To record things. They may not make sense now, and sometimes they're riddles. Sometimes it takes a little bit of brain work, and also trusting your instincts and figuring out what they mean by that. And that's why dowsing rods are good, because when you're asked, you can actually double check the information. And I can tell you a lot of these apps coincide when I say, when the dowsing rods come in, you know, they turn in to signify yes. They coincide with the app that's being used. Also, it's a personal preference about spirits. It's about your energy that you bring to a app. I'm gonna say if you have a skeptical energy, the app isn't gonna work for you. And the reason could possibly be that it's just not the right app for you, or it's just not the right app for the spirit that you're interacting with, and you need to give them time to adjust to it. There's no instant communication, okay? There's nothing instant. This may be on your phone, but that does not mean this isn't. We are all expected to have instant results. And if you can't be patient enough to wait for information that's coming from the spirits, allowing them to learn the technology that they're using, then perhaps paranormal investigating just isn't for you, because it takes a lot of patience. It's a lot of, wait, that doesn't make any sense. What did they say? Even without your phone and just REM pods and radio apps, you know, spirit boxes and things that you would spend actual money on. But considering I have seen the paranormal equipment is very expensive, and if you're wanting to experience the paranormal, I really, you know, recommend just playing around with some of these paranormal apps. Try some of them. Figure out if they work. A lot of people, I'm going to say a lot of apps are either AI generated, otherwise they're for entertainment, or they are scams. And that's a majority of them. But this is Ghost Hunting Tools, if you didn't know what this was. It's on Google Play, and it is on Apple Store as well. So, you know, if you're thinking of but yes, and another thing is they're not going to work right away, because you may be, it's all about location, it's about the spirit you're contacting, because each and every one is individual, unique. And sometimes they will like other devices over others. And from what I've seen, they've been pretty, pretty adaptable, I would say. But as you can see, she's got it's almost consistent readings right there. You can tell when she's kind of thinking and when she's about to say something. So can you... I'm going to stop yapping, Amy. I'm sorry. Amy, what are you saying? You're not what? Am not what? Can you finish the sentence for me? And another thing, don't get frustrated if they don't answer your question directly. If somebody gave you 100 words you had to work with, try making a sentence. You know? It would be difficult. I don't know how many, I think there's about 1,000 words in this word bank. And a lot of people think it's just, you know, randomly generated. But I can tell you, if you don't have the data, or I would say avoid apps that take data and internet. Because if they take data and internet, that means they're getting their information elsewhere. And that means they can manipulate this session. And that's nothing to do with hacking. That has to do with the design that is in it. That, for instance, there's been a couple of apps that almost had me convinced, but really were just very very well made AI, or just it's really just a system that gets information about you and puts it on there, and then you're like, ooh, they know all this, and really it's all on your phone. And kind of avoid anything that is like obviously like getting your account and that kind of thing, because if it has your Google account or whatever account that you're connecting it with, yeah, that's gonna obviously give them access. You know, when an app says, hey, permissions, actually says, oh, will you give us permission to know your identity and that kind of thing, that's a sure tell sign of that. So can you finish your sentence, Amy? You're not cultured, huh? And it's good to keep a sense of humor when you do this. Just be like, you're not cultured, you know, just try to, you know, you're not making fun of them, you're just saying you're not cultured. She's like, the dowsing rods are saying no. She's like, no. So, no as in that's not the answer, Amy? Or no as in, no, I'm not cultured. No, that's just a definite no. So, the fact that you're not cultured, that's not the correct answer, right? That's not the correct answer. So, she actually said that that was not the correct answer. Okay, well, and it's really easy to misinterpret, even if you don't need any of these tools and you can hear them and see them just fine. It's easy to misinterpret what they say. Sometimes they have to use other words when they're talking to you, because their ways are not our ways and they are beyond our comprehension. So sometimes they have to simplify it, and it's quite interesting, you know, having to communicate through word banks. But I love word banks because word banks tell stories and they're awesome. So far we have adventure, John, thick drift, region, am not cultured. Am not culture. Economics. Another thing, it's sometimes like being a detective, or having to solve a riddle. I've had spirits that will actually get me to solve riddles. Sometimes they actually want you to work for it. They don't want to just tell you, because it's fun for them. You're engaging with them, and they're playing a little. They're playing a little mind game, a little word game with you. So if you like word games and that kind of thing, yeah, these apps definitely would be for you. If you like little word games and stuff like that, they're cool. But the moment I started using these apps with her, she was very responsive. So I got her from eBay. I get a lot of my haunted vessels off of eBay because of they're from paranormal investigators. Some of them are owned by, you know, witches and things like that. You know, people that so right now, I think she is explaining a region. If not, I think she's really like explaining how she came to be. And in order to get, sometimes one word is not going to be obviously, you know, 5 words might not be enough. You may have to, oh, you know what? I may have to actually use 10 words or use a whole paragraph of them in order to tell that story. Don't expect instant results. Nothing is instant, okay? You can't get 1-day shipping with spirits, okay? That's not the thing. I didn't even get 1-day shipping with these. It would have been nice, but I didn't. I didn't get it. And notice how when I'm talking, she doesn't seem to want to interject. She's only interjected a couple of times, if you've noticed that. Like in the beginning, she was really eager, but now she's kind of slowing down because she realizes she knows what I'm doing. I've told her what I'm doing. She can see what I'm doing. So, bend. 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 Bending. Are you on the computer? Yeah. Here. Thank you. Here. Don't worry about the voices. It was just, that was a logical explanation. Somebody, if you heard any whispers or anything, those are logical noises. They are of human origin, do not worry. It's fine. Sloped plains. Bend. That would mean sloped plains. Oh, she's saying yes. Sloped plains. Inches. Oh, she's being specific now. She's being very specific. And also, notice the words that are used. For instance, I have a photograph, a haunted photograph. And she is like a writing muse, and she helps with my writing quite a bit when I need it. Drink, meaning water. Water. Drink. Water. Whoa. Headline. So when she first started out, she's saying adventure, which would kind of mean, like, you're being adventurous, aren't you? Yeah. She thinks of this as being kind of like an exciting little, you know, It's exciting for her. Does she move? Does she move things? I haven't seen anything that I haven't seen her move anything. I think she's more, when it comes to her gifts, I would say it's more of telepathic and emotional, because the first moment when I got her out of the box, she came with a teddy bear, and it was a box from Rite Aid. As you can see, she's got her tags right here. You can kind of see that. She's got her tags, her certificate of the authenticity. Certificate of authenticity. Okay, sorry. I was reading the French version, and then I remembered, I don't know French. Darn. Darn it. So, something about sloped plains and water and drifting away from a region. Drifting away from a region, or drifting away from slower. Crescent. Moon. If you like synonyms, this is a really good thing to do, because sometimes, as you know, one word can mean multiple things, 2 words can mean even more, and when you get a group of words, the exponential, not value, but the exponential meaning increases. So when you use more words, they're gonna mean more things, and then it gets a little cryptic. But she is actually, if you've noticed, she's saying slower, which would mean she is purposefully slowing herself down. As you could see in the beginning, she was just gonna go boom, 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 boom. She was already ready to crank out those words. Already. She was already ready for that. She was, you know, getting there, and then, but then, so you can see that she's actually saying that I'm deliberately going slower. Isn't that right? And she says yes. Now, as much as I would like everything to be in the shot, you're not going to be seeing me with the dowsing rods, but to reassure everyone, I am doing the dowsing rods. And that dowsing rods are really useful when you have anything else, because often you have to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I used to be afraid to ask questions, but it's okay to ask someone to repeat something, and it's okay to ask things repetitively. Void, tragic. So I think she's talking about that she used to be around people quite a bit. And is this very emotional for you? So she's saying that she used to be engaged with, she used to be played with and admired and that kind of thing, because she was potentially found in an attic. She was in an attic, and she had been abandoned, and the people that knew her were quite scared of her, because oh no, she's just, halt, I'll stop. Stop. Stop until what? So she's kind of the void tragic, so void meaning emptiness. Emptiness. Um, as I said, spirits are very emotional. So, did you feel emptiness when you were no longer engaged with, when you were in the attic? Did you feel empty? Were you sad? Can you spike the readings to show me that that's a yes? You don't have to spike it up much. Did that make you sad and empty? You said tragic and void. So like a sad emptiness. And I am getting a definite yes from her. She is very vocal, so if she wants to communicate, she doesn't always communicate through words. She will communicate with a feeling. So when she communicates with you, she will just you'll have this definite feeling of yes, affirmative, whatever it is. Like she just will. I can just feel it just hit my brain immediately. It's just it's crazy. She is just so powerful as far as entities go, and there's just so much that I want to learn about her. Just remember, these are sentient beings. These aren't something that should be destroyed or forgotten about, especially when they are actual benevolent spirits. And it really breaks my heart that people misinterpret that ominous or apprehensive feeling when really that's either them reflecting it, or it's just the fact that they are scared. They don't know where they are. I don't think were you scared when you came? Did you feel nervous when I opened the box? Apparently, yes. So some of these things may have to be deciphered later. Obviously, not everything is going to make sense because with with a Ouija board, there's just limitless things. There's limitless things that you can come up with. It's not just a couple of words you can choose from. There's infinite words that can be used because it has letters on it. But this, on the other hand, it may take a little bit for them to choose the words, to learn how the app works. So be patient with them. Don't expect them to just perform. They are not dogs. They are not animals. You don't just snap your fingers and have them do what you want them to do. Unless they love to perform, or they have some sort of unique theatrical attribute, and there's some sort of theater muse. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to do what they want to do and in their own time. Their ways are not our ways. I don't even know if they have a time where they come from. I have no idea. But we'll see. Monthly. What's monthly? And just try to engage, because if you just sit there and you just put and just kind of expect whatever to happen, I did that in the beginning because I was just like, I'll just set this up and see what happens. That was the experimentative stage. Now I actually know how to use them, and guess what? You learn more from failure than you do with actual successes, okay? So if things don't go well, try something different. Do something that you haven't done before. Try something different. What do you mean monthly? So, she was saying play, which kind of means, that she was engaged with. She was around people. And with porcelain dolls, it's a little bit different. You don't really play with them per se. As you can see, she's not really. The reason she's a little lopsided is because she's kind of supposed to be. Bankruptcy. Monthly bankruptcy. I know people like that. I'm just saying, I know people like that. And this is Rosa, as you can see. Hello. Yeah, there she is. They came together. It took me a little bit to figure out what her name was. Cross. Now, as you know, cross could mean I'm angry. No. Cross, as in Christ? Yes. Cross as in Christ. Okay, so that could mean, so that means like the actual, you know, the actual cross. And I actually do have a cross. I actually do have a cross over here. This is really nothing special. Actually, this is really nothing. Oh, another thing, keep certain kinds of metals away from your device. It's not all metals, obviously. There's some metals that won't have any effect on it, but there are certain metals that can affect it and give you false triggers and stuff. And taste. I'll tell you. I have had a spirit say they could smell my fear, but I don't know for sure if they can taste things. That would be an interesting thing. I suppose they could. At this point, I'm ready. I'm open-minded. I don't mind. I mean, I'm open-minded about it. At this point, I'm not disapproving anything, really. If I were to sit there and say, well, that can't be, then what am I doing here? I'm just wasting my time. If I have a closed mind and I'm doing this, yeah. Open mind is really important when it comes to paranormal investigating. There's always going to be a skeptic, but when you're doing these things by yourself, yeah, you need to actually, like, you need to be both the believer and the skeptic. So take things with a grain of salt. Realize that not everything is 100% accurate, and everything can be misinterpreted. You could be wrong. They could have been confused about the question. They could have not wanted to answer the question. They may not have been comfortable answering something, so they might tell somebody else's story. They also may just be trying to protect you, because there are certain things that may offend you, and they know if they spend enough time around you, they will know by your energy and kind of the way you talk and your mannerisms and just your overall personality and the way that you do things. They can observe and realize, yeah, this is probably something she wouldn't believe. This is probably something that would turn her world upside down. And just imagine it's kind of like a prime directive for them. Don't tell somebody about something until they're ready, you know? Don't violate the prime directive kind of thing. And that kind of means you may keep things it may mean that you may keep things, they may keep things from you, and that's okay. I don't know where it's written or who told you this, but that, I think it's something that's reinforced with a lot of religious leaders and religious people, is that angels don't lie. And in fact, like, there's several books that are written on that, but there's really nothing that we can actually, yeah, the Bible has some truth in it. I'm not going to deny that. I've read it. It has lots of wisdom. So do other books. And over time, a lot of that stuff has been kind of, it has been translated, and a lot of it has been lost in translation, because it's been translated so many times. But besides that, there's not really anything that can scientifically prove that angels do not lie. I have had jarring experiences of angels, and angels that I have tested. I've actually have tests to figure out I am talking to who I'm talking to. And, because that's always the fear of a lot of people, is like, well, what if it was a demon the whole entire time? Well, seems like, yes, that's possible. That's very possible. But there's also is that it's possible that angels have perhaps a different kind of morality, a different kind of standards when it comes to logic, when it comes to virtues, and they may feel that you are not ready to have certain information. They're not going to tell you it. I've had them say to me, that was not your truth. It was our truth, but if we told you our truth, you would have rejected it. You would have not have believed it. You would have, you would have flipped out, that kind of thing. So, yes, angels tell like little white lies sometimes, but the way that I see it is they don't really see that as a lie. They see that as either protecting you or helping you. And they're trying to respect your boundaries also. Think of that. Think of if there was something that was a truth that was so mind-blowing that it literally just turned your whole viewpoint. It literally turned your whole viewpoint upside down, and you had to reevaluate everything that you believed at that point because of what they told you. That would be a culture shock for you, specifically. It would be really, really traumatizing, and then you would think, oh my gosh, everything I've known is a lie. And you could go into a depression, you could go into an anxiety attack, and they don't want that. They care about your mental health. They really do. And they want to prevent that from happening. They don't want, if telling you the truth means destroying your perception of how you see the world, that's not worth it for them. So the fact that they are not telling you all of the truth is to protect you. It's just like when a mom says, there's a dead deer on the side of the road, and the mom says, what's wrong with them? And mom just says they're just sleeping, because it's too much to tell that child that deer is not gonna, that deer is gone. That deer has left, it's died. So they don't want to tell them that concept of death before they're ready. So it's a very motherly and nurturing thing. And that's why I say, angels can lie to you. Demons can lie to you. Any sort of spirit can lie to you. If they feel that it is necessary to protect themselves or protect you or protect a certain agenda, or they're feeling threatened or uncomfortable, they won't tell you the whole truth, and they may tell you a different story or a different truth that may not necessarily be their truth. They're going to give you what you can handle, and they're going to give you what you're ready to hear. Not what you want to hear necessarily, but what you need to hear at that moment. So think about that. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, no, angels don't lie, they don't lie. You can fight that, but there's nothing really out there that can physically prove then angels don't lie. There's not going to be a physical proof. Okay, you know, teen. Daniel. Who's Daniel? Talking about the Bible? Bible. Daniel. Yeah. She actually said. Very rarely do I have spirits talk about scriptures. Very rarely does that happen. Hardly happens at all. Who's Vivian? I don't know anybody by the name of Vivian. Also, keep in mind when you have names, they may not necessarily be the person, like, the person. I think spirits are people, I guess. I've just been around them too long. But, sometimes if there are names, it's not necessarily the spirit or the vessel that's speaking to you. It could be another spirit that's present that is really excited and wants to speak with you. And that's usually arranged. The spirits usually communicate, and sometimes do you guys sometimes talk over each other? Yeah, they do. They get really excited and they talk over each other. So sometimes that happens a lot. I will want to speak to one, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the session, it'll say something like, okay, like right in the middle of the session, somebody else will be trying to communicate. So who's Vivian? Is that someone you know? Is this someone you lost? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna write that down. Vivian is someone Amy lost. Right there. So yeah, the divining rods help because I want to interpret the information as it's being given to me, and but don't be surprised if another spirit interferes. I know it seems kind of rude, but they don't see it as rude. Like, for instance, if you get if you are around your friends or your family or people that you really connect with, and it's just like wildfire, it's like electricity, and everybody, especially if you've seen this with women will get into a room and they'll just start talking and yapping over one another, and there's really just yeah, there's just so much going on with that. So but she is like signifying that she is someone that she is like a holy vessel. A holy vessel means that the spirit that's within her is angelic, is heavenly, is benevolent. She can literally, I could literally put her on a demonic object or something that was not, had some bad mojo on it, a Ouija board, whatever it is, and she could actually purify it and get rid of that mojo. That is really good. Grace, my Raggedy Ann, she does that. She will help cleanse and purify my Ouija boards, and so that's really helpful to have holy vessels. It's good. I mean, it's nice to have your odd demon here and there, but it is good also to have the good kind also. And just because something affects you negatively does not mean it is a negative spirit, because just like anything, They have good days and bad days. You know, they have good days and bad days. And they have, for instance, I'd like to think that I'm a positive person, but am I positive all the time? No, sometimes I'm negative. Same thing with spirits. So for instance, just because I put on a frown does not mean I'm sad all the time, or just because if I say something that's really negative, that doesn't mean that I am negative all the time. It just means it's for that moment. It's the heat of the moment. It's that moment of my life. Whatever it is, spirits have the same thing. Feeling apprehension or an ominous feeling does not mean something that is necessarily bad. And sometimes, with a little bit of patience, those apprehensive things will eventually just go away. And I've had several haunted objects and haunted vessels that they'll start off very apprehensive. They'll start off like really, like they're scared, and they don't feel like, they're scared, and they don't know where they are. They were shipped out from who knows where, from an eBay seller, and then they ended up here. They know your name. They might know your face, but probably not likely. Spirits don't know everything. They know what's told to them, and then they also know what is, what they see and what they observe. They don't know everything, and don't be alarmed if a spirit comes to you and says, I know about your father, or I know when you were born, or I know your name, because those are very easily accessible things. Anybody in the world can figure out those things, okay? It just takes, you wouldn't even have to hack into your phone to know that. Really. You could ask other people. Like, how would you, if you didn't know the name of someone, first of all, you would ask questions. Maybe you might meet this person and get to know them and figure that out yourself. Or you may get it from people that do know that person. So spirits will often get their information from other spirits because they communicate. So don't be alarmed. Don't think that it's like some psychic thing that they can read your mind. It's not. There are spirits that'll just watch and learn, and then we'll get back to the other spirits and say, yeah, this is what's going on. It's like a spy. It's kind of like a spy thing. But don't be disturbed by that, because spirits have ways, just like we have ways of getting to know people. Okay, we have ways of stalking people, so do they. Same thing. They have their social network. They have their, they don't have Facebook, but they have their social network. They know how to network, and they know how to communicate. And I'm sure it's a very unique system. What are you celebrating? It's a minor celebration. Why are we celebrating sadness? I don't want to celebrate sadness. Not particularly. It's hilarious. Also, not all the words will always flow together. Sometimes these are consecutive thoughts, so they'll jump around. So, for instance, her sadness actually makes sense rather than celebrate minor sadness. That doesn't make sense. Celebrate minor sadness. No, how about, sometimes you have to kind of group words together, because it's not just one consecutive thought or one consecutive sentence. It may be several sentences, and they may be breaking it up. And who knows, it's quite possible that, you know, that spirits, I mean, if you think about it, they're energy beings, and they have infinite energy. So that means um, they have a lot of things that they're thinking all at once. So maybe it's very similar to ADHD. I don't know. It may be something very similar to that, perhaps. We didn't know. But it may be. They may have a hyperactivity thing where they want to, say one thing and they might want to do several things at once. But also, if you're in a room with a lot of different spirits, you're probably going to get a lot of answers from other things, and you're going to have this very misconstrued message because everybody decided to show up to the meeting. They're like, there was a meeting? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I missed it. And so they all put their 5 cents in, and you just have this conglomeration of really weird words that don't have anything to do with one another. So that is another thing. You might think, and a lot of people don't have the patience to don't have the patience to use these apps. They don't have the patience to do that. So they just assume, they just assume they don't work. They're just like, they're just entertainment apps. It's just an AI. It's just this. It's just that. Yeah, but you need to take the time to actually figure out which ones work, experiment, which one works best for you, which one works for each spirit. Write that down. Make notes. See if this actually works. Prove it to yourself. You don't have to prove it to anyone else. Prove it to yourself that it works. Do I need to prove everybody that this works? Not necessarily, but I would love to show that these can be used. And from what people say, this is another thing also. It's kind of like when you watch a movie. For instance, when I watch a movie, I sometimes will say, okay, you know what? I really love this movie. This particular movie, it was fantastic. And then somebody else who was watching the movie with me will say, no, I hated it. It sucked. It was horrible. And we watched the same movie. Maybe not at the same time, but if we did, there's different perspectives right there. So when one person will say, shouted, I'm sorry, am I too loud? So for instance, one person might say, oh my gosh, this app doesn't work. Because it just wasn't a good fit for them. They didn't know how to use it. They didn't have the patience, and maybe it just wasn't a good fit for them overall. Like they didn't like the format. There are so many variables of why an app doesn't work. It's not always something that can be prevented. It's sometimes just a matter of preference when it comes to that. But I'm just gonna say that if something doesn't work right away, maybe it's just not the right app for you. So yeah, one person can say, oh my gosh, this works, I've used it, and so I would get that app, that paranormal app, thinking that it would work, and it didn't. It was fake. I've seen actual professionals use these apps and then find out those aren't real either. It's crazy. So, yeah, just don't trust one person's word, trust your own judgment, trust your own experiences, because somebody may use the same, someone may use the same app and not get anything out of it because, as I said, patience, energy, skepticism, doubt, maybe they were sick that day, maybe they were in the wrong location, maybe they forgot to turn the internet and the data off. That can happen. That's really important, to turn the data off. And some people out of ignorance, may not know how the app works, so when they use it, it doesn't work for them. But tools are like anything. Just because somebody gives you a tool does not necessarily, even if you know how to use it, does not necessarily mean it is the best tool for you. Because you may have a certain way of thinking. You may have a certain way of seeing the information. Maybe you don't like word banks and that kind of thing. Yeah. Maybe you don't like certain word banks. Maybe you don't like the format. There are so many things that could be contributing to the fact that it's not working. As I said, if you're around anything that gives off electromagnetic waves, like electrical powers and that kind of thing, or electrical outlets, computers, tablets, obviously cameras, that kind of thing, certain kind of metals, those may create false triggers and give you words like blood, 666, sacrifice, you know, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh no, they want to possess me. Oh, this is very interesting. Historic house. Yeah, this is actually getting like an actual story, and she's actually doing that, which is amazing. But as you can see, this is actually a really good feature as well. See here. You can see some of the words that are here. And you know, from other sessions, so if you lose it, there you go, there, that's there. at least I think so. So another thing that we could do, do you want to use another app? Yes. Alrighty then. So we're gonna use something something a little different. It's called Paravox, and as you can see, let me grab this. Now this app is going to be, this is called Paravox, and this is, I have friends that actually use this, so I'm gonna turn it up a little bit, and I'm gonna change the frequency, obviously, because this has frequencies, and now we're gonna see if this works. Normally you want this level, or you don't want to touch it. Now if you can't have it level like I am doing right now, if you can't have it level, that is fine. I mean, it does need to normally be on a flat surface, but for this experiment, We shall not. And it's a little bit slower. A little bit slower than the other apps there. Or at least it can be. Okay. So are you there, Amy? You there? Can you confirm? Can you light up the phone for me? Can you light up the phone? Please? Haha! You're there. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate how this works. Is your name Amy? To confirm that, please confirm it 3 times. If you would like to. I'm giving you the option, you don't have to do it. So that's going to light up a couple of times. 3 times, please. 1. As I said, the internet and data is off. This takes them a little bit. They usually like to take their time when it comes to this. It's just something they do. 2. See, answers are never instant. You see what I mean? Answers are never instant. A never instant, believe me, darling. Never. They never are. Waiting for that last response. Are you making me wait? Began. Okay. What began? Are you beginning? Is that what you're saying? So she's just saying she's beginning right now. So, can you confirm one last time for the 3Q response, please? There you go. Thank you. And I don't think our viewers saw the 3 response. Could you do that a little bit faster? I know you probably had a reason to take your time, but could you do the 3 tap a little bit faster for me? Challenge yourself. I'm not challenging you. You can challenge yourself. You know? Can you do that 3 time? Can you light up the phone 3 times? 1. A little faster. A little bit faster, please.
Can.
Oh, you can go faster. Yeah, can.
Hot.
Hot. What, is my phone hot? Or is the room hot? Yeah. Is the room hot? Yeah. Room is...
We were beside them.
What's really cool about this is this keeps getting updated, so, who were you beside? Who were you helping? You were beside them. Is that what's going on? Yeah, just to say, paranormal investigating is literally just waiting for responses, waiting for communication, waiting. That's all it is. It's not quite as exciting as, you always see in the paranormal investigative shows of just them, grabbing their bags and heading out and going, go, here we are. Just grab our bags. It's so exciting when really, it took them months just to get a case. It probably took them 6 to 12 hours just to get those responses. And they take a lot of that out of them scratching their heads and saying, what's this? What's that? What did you say? Huh? Who's that? Yeah, it literally, it is finding out who you're talking to, and is that spirit going to talk to you. It's deciphering what's being told to you. It's figuring out which room. There's a lot of dynamics that go into it, and a lot of it is really dry. It is not exciting. A lot of it is like, did you hear that? No. Did you hear that? No, I didn't. I saw something. Did you see that? No, I didn't see that. It gets to be like a really dry horror movie, just like one of those, those dry horror movies that the Hammer films, I love Hammer films, but they are a bit dry, you know what I mean? The Christopher Lee, I love Christopher Lee and all of that, and I love horror movies, but those are a little dry, I'm just saying, and they're good movies, but it's kind of a slow burn, because at that time they didn't want to. Hammer Films was known for not showing like a lot of blood. I was very, very disappointed when I saw Peter Cushing and I think it was Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee movie, Hammer film. It was called The House That Dripped Blood, and there was not a drop of blood in it. I was disappointed. I was like, why? There's no blood. Yeah, I was very disappointed. I was disappointed because of it. So kind of the thing that you want to do is not touch some of these things, because certain things are triggered by movement, and it's just like anything. It's like if you were to wiggle the antenna on a TV. If you ever had that experience of having to wiggle that antenna or put it in position so that it could actually work, it is the same thing. It's literally what you're doing is you're playing with the antenna. Don't do that. The only time that you should be touching that is if you, when you first open it, and when you test, get it to the right frequency and the right sensitivity. That should be the only time that you should be touching that. You do not need to be touching. Do you agree with me, Amy? Do you agree that I shouldn't be touching this at any time, right? I shouldn't, right? 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 She's saying yes, and what's really weird and hence kind of creepy is, oh my gosh, she just confirmed, yeah. What's really weird and kind of creepy is that the dowsing rods will be like almost in tune with this. So when it goes inward to say yes, it will say yes on the phone. So this app does work. You just need patience and a little bit of energy and the right energy. Patience is key, though. Patience is key, and having an open mind and knowing where you are, in being aware of your surroundings, and just making sure that you're away from any heavy power outlets like power lines, cameras, other people's phones, certain kind of metals, data towers, anything that's going to give off a lot of electromagnetic waves, because these things will trigger false responses. And then bat. I have a bat. You were beside bats? I wish I could be beside bats. No, she was not beside bats. She was not beside bats. I'm not exactly sure what she was confirming. I think she was confirming that that was a negative. She was positively telling me that it was positively, she was positively telling me that it was positively negative. You know, like your COVID results should be. It's positively negative. It's not positive, but it's positively negative. Just like your COVID test should be. Sometimes I crack myself up. Who were you beside? You said them. Who's them? Who is them? So sometimes when they light up the phone like that, it's literally what they're doing is literally what's going on is it's confirming. They are confirming. Like, can you hear me, Amy? Can you hear me? Can you confirm that you can hear me, Amy?
Share.
Share. Wow. Every time I'm like saying, hey, can you confirm something? She's just like, I'm gonna give you a word. I'm gonna give you a word. I'm gonna give you words, bitch. That's what I'm gonna do. She thought that was funny. Do you think that's funny? I'm gonna be giving you words, bitch. Yeah, she does think that's funny. I was like, there's been a couple of my vessels that are like, oh my gosh, don't use that kind of language. You know, they're a little prudish, but from what I've known, and usually spirits are not, I mean, they will be concerned about your language, but as far as your rituals and your daily habits and the things that you do, they're not very judgmental about that. Unless it's like harming you. And keep in mind, the things that they say may not necessarily be the things that they feel, the things that they have experienced. It could very well that they're just telling you your own story or someone else's. I've had multiple times where somebody had told me, oh yeah, this is the spirit of this woman. And I come to find that it's actually something quite different. The reason being is I think spirits have different stories as they go along. They're not necessarily fictional stories. They're real stories that they have witnessed themselves. And since they feel things very deeply, it's almost like they've experienced it themselves because they're empaths. Spirits are empaths. So when they see something going on, they're actually feeling that emotion that you're feeling. So really check your own energy, because if a spirit is agitated or nervous or whatever, it may be the fact that that's what you're experiencing. So they're amplifying it, or they're mimicking it, or they are trying to share that burden with you. Because spirits are here to essentially, I mean, some of them are here to essentially help us. They're not here to necessarily harm us. And as I said, just because something is giving off a negative vibe does not mean that it is negative. Take people, for instance. There have been several people that give me negative vibes, okay? They give me negative vibes, you know, not negative vibes, but, you know, they'll glare at me. You know, I had this, I've had people like that were either really mean to start out with, or like one of my best friends, she was so mean to me. Like, she would tell me to shut up, she would call me a jerk, and she was just like very flippant and just very rude to me. And then I met up with her years later, and it turns out she was a wonderful person. She wasn't mean. She wasn't what she portrayed herself to be. She was a very lovely, beautiful soul, and she became one of my best friends. She was a goth. She was tattooed. She had blue hair. She was awesome and amazing, and I loved her sense of style with these big, demonia boots and corsets and stuff. And I just thought she was grand. I thought she was great. And I didn't care if she had piercings and tattoos and all of that. I thought, because I knew who she really was, and she had revealed that to me. But beforehand, very negative. So, just like anything, first impressions are not always the best, are not always reliable, because when you have a first impression, you have your guard up, you may present yourself in a certain aspect, you may not reveal everything, and for good reason. You're not gonna be emotionally vulnerable the first time you meet someone. You're not gonna automatically just be yourself, because you're not comfortable with that person, and you're not sure if they're comfortable with you just being who you are. So, you kind of put a mask on a little bit. That is perfectly normal. And the same with spirits. Spirits are not gonna. They need to gain your trust. Sometimes you have to continually go to them and talk to them and show them an emotional vulnerability. And I urge you, if you are in an area that is particularly active, spiritually active, haunted, and you're getting bad vibes, negative vibes, I urge you to kind of just sit down a bit. Just, instead of running, address the situation. Acknowledge what's going on. Know that you're not going crazy. The things that you see and hear, whether it's physically or it's just subconsciously, some people can actually just see spirits as if, just like as if they were, the way that you see people, they're physical, they're just there. There's some people that can just see spirits and hear them as if they were there as a person, they just see them. And then there's some people that see and hear them subconsciously, and there's some people that don't know, that just sense things. They sense things. So everybody has their very unique spiritual gifts, so to speak. Everybody has unique abilities when it comes to communicating with spirits. And I think each one is unique because we are all unique. But another thing is, when you're in an active part of the house, I urge you to just kind of acknowledge them, meaning, I know that you're there. And when you're ready to tell your story, I'll be here. Because there's no reason for you to act violently. There's no reason for you to act aggressively. Let's work this out. What is it that you need? That's one of those things. What is it that you need? Why are you acting this way? And really get to the bottom of it, because if you misjudge the wrong spirit, otherwise you misjudge a spirit that could potentially be a friend of yours, could potentially protect you from bad spirits. This could be a very angelic being, not necessarily an angel, but it could be something that could benefit you and guide you. And you won't have that experience if you run and hide and get scared and shut them away in a room. Which has happened to Amy. Amy was locked up in the attic, and she was literally taped up because the people that found her were just terrified. They felt a very overwhelming presence. And I'm just going to say, when I first opened her, opened her up from, you know, she came from an eBay seller. So when I first opened up the box, there was just this overwhelming sense. It was an overwhelming power. It was like nothing I had ever felt before. She was very clear about her intentions. Like, you know, normally, you know, I'll have to kind of focus a little bit to see what's, you know, what she's saying, but this was just definite. It was just like, go get this candle. And I felt myself being moved towards the candles. I felt myself being very like propelled to that place. I was drawn. I was being guided. And see you later. I felt like, and it was just so definite. Like, I've never had a spirit that was so intention is like, you know, she wasn't just vocal. She wasn't just like, get me a candle. She was actually guiding me to the candles. Like, she knew where they were. She knew where they were. And she was just like, get the candles. And, I just kind of followed along, really, to be honest. And I'm going to say, if you were religious, or you are religious, and you still have some religious beliefs, if you're familiar with the invocation of the Holy Spirit, now the Holy Spirit, as you know, doesn't possess you. No. It's you're willingly allowing a spirit to, which in a lot of magic communities is called invocation. However, within Christianity, it's called, it's called spiritual guidance, I guess you would call it. But you notice, the Holy Spirit is also called the Holy Ghost. That's very interesting. And the Holy Spirit right there. So when you pray and you do that, you're invoking a spirit. A spirit isn't possessing you. It's not taking your soul. This Holy Spirit isn't doing that. It's guiding you, which when unfortunately a lot of people don't know the difference between that, because possession to me is a very extreme case. That means a spirit violated your boundaries, entered you without your permission, and if they did get your permission, there was a deception that was behind it. They told you, hey, just invoke me, or just let me in, or just trust me, and then all of a sudden they're overtaking your life. If a spirit is making you do things that you can't control, that's a possession. But if a spirit is gently guiding you, that is an invocation. There's a difference, and a lot of people get really scared because of, and I too was scared of these certain things, because I instinctively know what spirits say. I know how they speak. So, it scared me a little bit. I thought I was going crazy. I thought that, you know, this is going to go down a dark path. I'm going to end up being possessed, blah, 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 blah. When really, possession and invocation are two different things. All you're doing with invocation is allowing a spirit to come within you, to improve your life, and guide you, and energize you, and help you. It is not the same as possession. That is what happens. And that's why people get confused when they get so scared of Ouija boards, is because they think that they're being controlled. Nobody wants to be controlled by something. They want to be in control at all times. And I'm going to tell you, when you have the Ouija board, you are in control. But you're also being guided. There's a synonymous and harmonious coexistence and cooperation that happens when there is invocation. Ouija board is a temporary invocation, meaning the only thing that spirit should be guiding you is your hands. Okay? That's the only thing. So that goes for angels, demons, animals, dead people, extraterrestrials. They should only be doing that. If they are taking over, possessing you, literally, you have done something horribly wrong. Or something horribly wrong has happened that should not have happened. From what I have seen, not a lot of possessions happen because of Ouija boards. And I'm gonna say, you could probably go on YouTube right now, look over that, and try to find the statistics of whatever that is. You're probably not gonna find the statistics, but what you are gonna find is a lot of negativity when it comes to Ouija boards, because everybody has one. Almost everybody has one, or they know somebody that has one. So, trust people that are actually having positive experiences, like Karen A. Dahlman. Karen A. Dahlman is an author, best-selling author, and she is into Reiki and meditation, so like the crystals and stuff. And she actually uses her Ouija board. She has an angel board. It's got angels on it, and she uses it to communicate with her angels. So really, and also another misconception is a lot of people think that a Ouija board is something that's very simplistic because it's sold as a toy. It's not a toy. It's a communication device. But in this day and age, we give something to children that is even more damaging. It's called a phone. When has a Ouija board ever given out your social security number or your credit card information or where you live? When has a Ouija board ever made your child disappear or have them kidnapped at some point? It doesn't happen because that phone pretty much gives access to anybody and everybody, and at any time all of your information has probably been leaked. If you've been on social media, if you've used Temu, if you've used AliExpress, if you've used anything that has to do with online banking, anything that's online, your information could be potentially on the dark web right now as we speak. It could potentially be your whole life story is out there.
Christmas.
Could very well be that. So keep in mind also that when it comes to Ouija boards, do not play with them. People that say don't play with them, don't meddle with them, they are right. Don't. It is a expert device. It is a expert device. It is something that you yes, you can experiment with it, but when you have a method of cleansing it, getting all the bad mojo off of it, just in case, I bless my boards so that they do not, so negative energy does not attract itself. It does not cling to it. And I have holy vessels. I have heard people...
Shit.
Plural shit. Shits. But yeah, you gotta keep in mind that some people that use a Ouija board don't understand that it is multifaceted.
Not.
It can be both a portal and it can be both a communication device. But I'm going to say, we as human beings, we give our parents give their children phones, which is the most dangerous communication device you can have anywhere, because it gives everything to everyone, and they are constantly sharing things with other people, and they don't even know who they're sharing it to.
No.
No? What do you mean no? No, not. No, not what? What do you mean, no, not? You mean no, not shit? No shit. Okay, no shit. No shit! Plural Christmases? Is it plural Christmases? Okay, Christmases. As you can see. But yeah, people start playing with Ouija boards and they essentially don't understand that the difference between the portal and the communication device because they're children. Their brains aren't fully developed. They are impulsive, hormonal. They don't have their brain is new. It's plastic and it's still growing, and they don't have the same logic and sense of responsibility that necessarily an adult would have. I mean, you can prepare children to be responsible, but when it comes to it, they're reckless. They act stupid. They experiment with things that they shouldn't. And really, to be honest, out of all the things that could be damaging, I really think that phones are really the most damaging. And yes, I'm using a phone. Yes. Did I always have a phone? Was I one of those overprivileged kids that got a phone? No. I had to wait till I was frickin' 25 to get myself a really nice phone. You realize most of my life, I didn't have a phone. I had a tablet. I had something that ran really slow. Occasionally I would have a used laptop computer that would break as soon as I got it. I grew up with VHS tapes, okay? We had dial-up. And yes, we had a TV antenna we had to fix. So I happen to know the hardships of not having a phone, okay? Honestly, it was kind of better. A little bit, it was kind of better. I mean, I'm thankful that I have a phone, and I'm thankful that there were people that helped me get those phones and helped pay the bills for those phones. I've had some very generous people. And so I feel that I am very fortunate, but rather with kids, it's kind of just expected. And I've seen this. I went to Walmart one time, and this little girl, she was no more than 1 year old. She was old enough that she could make noises and go, ah. She made those noises, and she kept making those noises. And as soon as she did, the mom put her phone in her daughter's arm. This child wasn't even 2 years old, and she was using technology to literally bribe her kid to be calm. And I just found that rather disturbing. I realized that I'm not judging her at all. I realized that, it's Walmart, it's always a desperate situation when you're in Walmart, okay? I mean, it just is, you see the way people are dressed there.
All. Row.
Gosh, you're chatty. You're chatty. But yeah, you see these people that are dressed up in Walmart. Have you ever seen them? They're just like... if you look up on the worst clothes in Walmart, people have taken pictures of this shit. It's funny. It really is, because they're usually not wearing underwear. And it's like it's wash day. They didn't have any other clothes, so they slapped on the last set of clothes that they had, which didn't match and really doesn't cover their ass, or really doesn't cover much of anything. But I have to go to Walmart, so they go to Walmart. It's always a thing of desperation. Nobody goes to Walmart with I don't think I've ever seen somebody that has been smiling that works at Walmart. I have never seen somebody that is thinking, oh my gosh, I am so excited to go to Walmart. Oh yes, they're gonna be having so and so. It's just not something that's, because Walmart is one of those places. It's chaotic. People don't know how to dress themselves. They don't know where they are at that time because they're either tweaking out or they're freaking out, or they're having a mental breakdown. It's just, Walmart is the desperate place, and it's just convenient for people, so it's never usually like it's an exciting thing. It's more of just like, gotta go get milk. I gotta go get, oh yeah, I gotta go get all this other stuff, and it's just usually not an enjoyable experience for people. I have some trauma involved with Walmart too. Okay, Walmart is just trauma. So when you go to Walmart, you're gonna see things like that, and some things are just, but you kind of have to just laugh because humanity is hilarious. In all actuality, it's just funny. At least I think so. Anyway, so yeah, Walmart is trauma. Okay, if you work there, or you just go there to go, to get something, a quick thing, it's trauma. You want to stay, you don't want to be, you want to be there either really early in the morning or really late at night when nobody's around. Because really, the person that said the freaks come out at night obviously had not gone to Walmart at that point. That's a meme. The freaks come out at night. Yeah, freaks come out at night. Yeah, it's kind of that thing. So, I don't think. And the first thing is, I'm just gonna say, I will never work at Walmart. Never. I will never work there. Never. Not as long as I live. So, yeah. But yeah, I just really think that technology is really what's dangerous, not a piece of wood that is sold, or a piece of plastic that's sold by a Hasbro. And it's a double-edged sword. It's one of those things. Ouija board, you could use it one time and nothing happens. You could use it 1,000,000 times and nothing happens. You could use it 100 times and then something horrible happens. It's kind of just like anything. It's like any tool, communication tool. It's either gonna work or it's not gonna work, or it's gonna work horribly wrong.
Blaze shocked.
Blaze. And what's really cool is this particular word bank is very unique. I have not seen one that was quite like this. It's just a very unique kind of. I think they keep updating it as well. I'm very impressed about this because I started with the free version of Parabox, and then I went with the newer, the premium one. And a lot of these have these trials of getting free one. You can get a free the adjective blaze often describes someone who is bored with the pleasures of life because of frequent indulgence or exposure. When asked what she thought of the awards ceremony. The actors yawned. It was blasé. Blasé shocked? Yeah, I'm gonna see. So something was boring. Now this is another thing that you can do if you have a word bank. If you've not heard, is you can get this online. This is free. You don't have to actually you don't actually have to spend money. But there's something called a thesaurus. A thesaurus. It looks like thesaurus. It's true. But I go to dictionary.com and I will look up words to see if, because sometimes one word will mean another. So and I am a word nerd, so I like to figure it out. So for instance, but this really doesn't, like, as far as these two words, blasé and shocked, don't really go together. So I guess, shocked, let's see, here we go. So shock is pretty self-explanatory. We're probably not going to get another word for that, but we're going to look up blasé and see what synonyms come up there. Probably not going to be a lot. Oh, come on. Huh.
Mother.
So, this is also another really unique term of blasé. Blasé can also mean a first name. Interesting. So, first name. Is that it? Yeah, that is it's a first name. So, first name. First name of mother. There's also, was a person by the name of Blaise Pascal, the French mathematician. So that's the first thing that I was that came up. It said Blaise Pascal, and I was like, Blaise Pascal. Okay, somebody's name was Blaise. I guess that meant something different at that time, because, yeah, we're talking about like Shakespeare's time kind of thing, you know, with the ruffles and that kind of thing. So that's how old that person is. 1652, you know, something like that.
Send.
Send. You're shocked by a first name. Yes. Shocked by a first name. So yeah, you could sit here and be skeptical and be like, it doesn't make any sense. Well, it doesn't make any sense because you didn't take the time to you know, look at all of the variables when it comes to words. There are so many different variables. When one person says one thing, it may mean something completely different. And as you know, the English language is kind of topsy-turvy, and So it really does pay to know your words and to know certain things. Sometimes words will lead you to dead ends because because you think so much. Sometimes what happens is we are used to having certain words that we use over and over again, and we always use them in a certain context, and so it's really hard to see that any other way. So that's where being open-minded, being wanting to learn new information is really important when you're a paranormal investigator. Don't give up. Don't be like, oh yeah, this doesn't make any sense, because very well will make sense later. It may not make sense right now, but eventually it will, and eventually you'll figure it out. And you don't have to figure it out right then and there, okay? You can figure it out later. If your brain is hurting, if your brain is not where it needs to be, then just come back to it later, okay? That's what usually happens. You know how people say, well, what you need to do is just take a step back. You know, just take a step back. Don't try to... I think people do that. They say, okay, just take a step back. And
Adam.
And sometimes when you take a step back, you and take a little break, the next time you come to it, your brain will have rebooted or kind of just unraveled itself, and then by that time things will be a little bit clear. That is kind of one of those things that your mom or your parent or whatever adult in your life when you were a kid would say, why don't you just, take a break or take a step back, gain some clarity. And you really didn't understand that as a kid, but now I understand that sometimes when you get so hyper focused on something.
My name is Jesus.
You mean Jesus? Jesus? Yeah, Jesus. Jesus is actually can also mean Jesus. Because, in Spanish it's pronounced. I actually knew a kid in school. He was a unforgivable, evil little shit. But I never liked him. It had nothing to do with him, with his name or anything like that, but he just had a bad personality. He was an absolute bully. He was one of my bullies, actually. And his name was Jesus, and it looked like Jesus, and it was actually spelled out that way because I remember going to the chalkboard and seeing it written there. So I think we had a grease board, actually.
Track.
Yeah, we had so that may be just it's like angel. Angel is actually quite a common name in Puerto Rico, and in sometimes in some places in Mexico. So Angel and Jesus are pretty common names. And she reassured me that whoever it is that's reassuring me, all the spirits that are here, assured me that it's Jesus. So my name is Jesus. So this is what I'm talking about. When you're talking to one spirit, sometimes another spirit will come in and start talking and yapping, and because they get excited. They are very excited. They can be pretty excitable. They can be like, oh yeah, someone's talking, is that one of those word banks? It's one of those word banks. Oh, okay, let me talk. Can I talk? So, Jesus, are you here? Yeah? Are you here? My dowsing rods say yes. Okay, you're here. So yeah, make sure you know who you're speaking to, because they can change. Okay, just like anything, it's like a video call. You know, everybody can speak at once. Somebody can mute their microphone and just somebody can leave the room. You know, somebody can do that. It's a bit like that. You know, you're gonna have other people that are in the conversation, and all of that. So it doesn't mean that you're not speaking to, that we're not also speaking with Amy. Amy is still here, but it's quite possible, she zoned out or something. I don't know. Maybe she wanted, she gave the microphone to someone else. She was like, okay, why don't you go over here? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? That kind of thing. It might be that. So, don't disapprove it. Don't think that. But yeah, I do believe that's Jesus. As in, a Hispanic name. Because I really doubt that. I really doubt that that's Jesus. Okay, I am very skeptical of that. I don't think. I don't know. I just don't think Jesus would be speaking through a word bank. That's just me. But maybe it is. Maybe that's giving some hope to someone. I don't know. Maybe it is Jesus. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, this has been a really great session. Thank you, for those of you that have watched this. Thank you for joining. I'm going to be making a schedule of this, so hopefully we can have more regular sessions. So, but this has been Amy, Jesus, also Jesus, and a new spirit.
Right.
And also keep in mind that there are sometimes there can be multiple spirits that, especially any place. Okay, there's going to be multiple spirits any place that you go, but especially certain areas like graveyards and that kind of thing. So take that in consideration. Try to, that's why you should start at home or start in familiar places. So, start with spirits that rather than diving into it and actually just, doing it. Oh, I'm going to talk to this random spirit over here. Do it with spirits that are that are also ask their permission. Don't just wham your equipment down and expect to talk to them. Be respectful. Don't bullshit them. Don't be like, I'm tough, I'm a big guy. They don't care. They can see you on a molecular level. They can see your bones, your skeletons, your muscles and everything. They can see your freaking stomach contents and your brain. Do you think that they care about how muscular you are, or how beautiful you are, or how much shampoo that you use in your hair? No, they're not going to care about that. What they are going to care is about what your energy is. And when you come to a place, if you are there to disrupt or violate, they know immediately, because they know your intention. They know what you're intending to do, not because they can read your mind, but they can feel your intention. And a lot of what your energy says actually can tell other people, and as well as spirits, what you're intending to do. They say, oh, actions speak louder than words. Sometimes, but sometimes your energy is really the most effective communicator. When it comes to spirits, that's how they communicate, through emotions, through energy, through intention. So often they will give you an intention. It won't just be a word, or it will just be a feeling, an overall feeling. I don't know if you've ever had this overall feeling of something, like, oh, I feel that something is really wrong. I should turn around and check on Bobby, or I should check on my husband, check on my child. And then as it turns out, it is something that as it turns out, it's something that you know, your own intuition actually saved your child or saved your husband or saved your life as you know it, because you had that intuition, you had that feeling that something was wrong. And when we make emotional connections to people, sometimes when that connection is there, we can still, even with distances, we still have that connection, and we will know when something is wrong because we just have an overall sense of that. And this is a very spiritual thing, but it is a worldwide phenomenon. A lot of people have experienced this. For instance, set of twins. There are spouses, there are siblings, there are people that just spend so much time with each other. They just form this unbreakable bond, and they will communicate through miles of territory. And it's just it's not usually a telepathic link, but from what I know, it's more of an emotional link. You know, so if something is going wrong and somebody really cares about you and you care about them and it's an equal exchange, you may feel, you know, for some reason, you could feel really, really down. For instance, I have actually had my boyfriend say to me, you know, he will say, you know what, I've been feeling really down lately, and I will say, so am I. And he kind of mentioned that, and I said, you know, there may be a connection with that.
Fast.
You know, what if you're feeling down because I'm feeling down? And he was very open to that idea because previously he had not had any, you know, depression going on, and then all of a sudden, you know, he says, you've just been on my mind all this time, you know, you've been on my mind, and I don't know why, but I felt something was wrong. I felt like you were down, like, I don't know how to describe it. And meanwhile, you know, yeah, so these things are real to an extent, but there is also some belief that's kind of wrapped into it. So definitely having some belief, having some faith, but having some skepticism and challenging your findings, questioning yourself, and always keeping yourself in check and realizing what energy are you bringing into the session, what energy are you bringing to the spirits, because they communicate through emotions and energy. So you really need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know what I mean? So all of you have a beautiful, blessed day, and I am going to probably I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll think of something. But stay blessed and stay happy and healthy, I hope.